Bear had just arrived at Kelsthorpe station to drop more passengers. He was looking forward to a nice long rest as soon as he was done with the limited. A woman stepped out of the train and looked around. It was her first time coming to the island of Sodor. But she had heard a lot about it. This woman's name was Lily Stone, the granddaughter of Burnett Stone, Lady's former driver. Meanwhile, Thomas was taking the trucks to an old part of the railway that had not been used in a long time.
I'm back. And I got the coal and water just like I said.
Thomas had brought Lady to an old siding hidden in the grove. He wanted to make sure Lady was safe and easy for him to find. Lady was glad Thomas got almost everything she needed to move again.
Thank you, Thomas. Now all I need is a driver. But I'm surprised you would go to all this trouble just for me.
We engines always help one another out, no matter what. Because no job is more important than helping your friends.
We're friends?
Of course we are. I'll come and visit whenever I can until I can find you a good driver.
Thomas, driver and fireman, placed a tarp over the coal truck to make sure it wouldn't get ruined in case it rained. They were going to leave the trucks with Lady so that they can be ready to use when the time came. They uncoupled Thomas and he collected the brake van. Then they left the old siding. Thomas quickly made his way back to Knapford. He hoped that Sir Topham Hatt wasn't going to be cross with him for making him wait or for leaving Edward's yard. When he arrived, however, Sir Topham Hatt wasn't anywhere outside. He was still inside his office. Percy was shunting trucks in the sidings when he saw Thomas shunting the brake van out of the way.
Thomas, thank goodness you're okay. They nearly told me she saw you being chased down the main line by Dieselton.
I was. He chased me all the way to the old Peel Godred branch line where I found.
Thomas almost told Percy about his encounter with Lady, but he quickly stopped himself before he said too much.
Found what, Thomas? Is there something going on?
Thomas hesitated. He didn't like lying to Percy. But he didn't want to risk putting Lady in danger. Thomas tried to think of an excuse, but he couldn't come up with one. Percy was getting impatient.
Thomas, say something. I thought we were friends, whatever it is. You can trust me, you know that.
At last, Thomas gave in after all. Percy is his best friend. And Thomas realized he may need a little help if he was going to help Lady. Maybe Percy could be trusted with his secret.
Okay. Percy, I'll tell you. But you can't tell anyone. Not yet, anyway.
You have my word, Thomas, not a soul.
Okay. Here it is. I've found Lady, the lost engine.
You what?
Shh.
Sorry, you what?
And then, Thomas told Percy everything.
Thomas, that's amazing. I can't believe you actually found her.
I know. I couldn't believe it myself when I saw her. So now I'm trying to help her be really useful again. I just need to find her a driver.
Oh, Thomas, please let me help if there's anything I could do for her, anything at all.
Well, I suppose there is one thing you could do. Could you ask around? Find out what happened to Lady's original driver, Burnett Stone. But don't mention anything about Lady. Remember, Percy. You can't tell anyone about her.
However, unknown to either Thomas or Percy, a certain Diesel had just rolled up from behind and heard only what Thomas said about keeping a secret and not telling anyone.
I knew he was up to something. And I'm gonna find what. Right, Pinchy?
A few minutes later, Percy left with his trucks and Thomas waited in the yard for Sir Topham Hatt. Thomas was glad he told Percy about Lady. He only hoped it wouldn't turn out to be a bad idea. Just then, Sir Topham Hatt came out of his office and walked towards Thomas.
Thomas, just the engine I wanted to speak with. I have a special job for you this evening. I would like you to collect a new and chlorable and take the evening local.
Yes, sir. You can count on me.
That's a good engine.
Later, Diesel 10 was on his way to the smelter's yard with a train full of scrap when he found Dodge and Splatter on their way to the wharf with some vans. Diesel 10 had a job for the two Diesels, so he stopped to speak with him.
Now listen up, you splodge. That blue puffball and his saddle tank friend are hiding something. And I want you two to spy on them and find out what they're up to.
Oh, sure thing, boss.
What are they up to?
I don't know. That's what I want you to find out, you lunkheads.
Oh,
Right.
That little blue teapot got me into trouble with Fat Hat, and I'm gonna get back at him by ruining whatever it is he's up to. Then he'll be sorry.
Meanwhile, Percy was trying to find out about Burnett Stone. He found Toby at the flour mill and asked him if he knew anything.
I'm sorry, Percy. But in those days I was still working on my old tramway up in Arrowsdale and I wish I could be more helpful to you.
That's all right, Tubby. I forgot you didn't come here yet until after me.
So Percy left with his truck, still trying to figure out who knew something about Lady's former driver. As he was making his passenger run, he saw Oliver and Toad and thought they might know something. Until he remembered that both Oliver and Toad were never on Sodder in those days. So Percy just carried on. Next he saw Henry waiting at the station with his goods train. Percy asked him if he knew anything about Burnett Stone. But even Henry had no idea. He had been on the island of Sodder for many years, but not that many. Percy had just entered Croven's Gate feeling disappointed. He had almost given up. But then he saw Skarloey at the crossing heading for the station. Suddenly, Percy remembered what Edward said in the story.
She was quick to make friends with the engines on the narrow gauge railway like Skarloey and Rinnies. That's right, Skarloey's been here since the sun days. He might know something about Burnett Stone.
And then Percy followed Skarloey to the station. But unknown to him, he was being watched by certain Diesel Shunter. Dodge came out of the shed where he was hiding and continued to follow Percy. Skarloey had just pulled up to the station platform when Percy arrived.
Skarloey, I have to talk to you. Oh, hello Percy, what's got you so excited? Well, it's just that you've been on Sodder for a really long time, so I was wondering if you knew anything about someone from long ago. Well, I suppose I can try to remember, but I've known a lot of passengers, visitors, and railway workers in my time. Of course, it all depends on who it is.
Neither Percy or Skarloey noticed Dodge eavesdropping on them from the other platform.
Okay, here it is. What do you know about Burnett Stone? Burnett Stone. I haven't thought about him in years. Why do you want to know about him? It's complicated. I just want to know what happened to him. Well, I don't know much, Percy. All I remember is that he drove a very special engine here waste a great car of but year ago. Both he and the engine had disappeared. I don't know what happened to him. It's a complete mystery.
Percy was disappointed. He had thought that Skarloey would have the answer he was looking for. But now he was right back where he started. So he puffed away wondering what to do about the mystery of Burnett Stone.
So that's what Percy's up to. He's trying to find out about this Burnett Stone guy. But I wonder why.
You're holding up the line. Make way for the Duke and Duchess.
Oops.
That evening, Thomas was collected Annie and Clarabelle and took them to Knapford for the evening local. While he was waiting, he was thinking about how he was going to find a good driver for Lady.
If you're still thinking about trying to find that lost engine, then you're wasting your time. There's no such thing. You would just go running around in circles all over the island.
Thomas wanted to tell James off, but he didn't want him to know about Lady, at least, not yet anyway. So Thomas just ignored him. Soon the guard blew his whistle and Thomas left the station in a huff. James just stood there watching Thomas puff away. He didn't know why Thomas didn't say anything. Further down the line, Thomas thought about what Lady said about Annie and Clarabelle's sister. He thought that now was a good time to ask.
Annie, Clarabelle, can I ask you two something?
What is it, Thomas?
Well, we've known each other for a long time, and we're always open to one another about, well, everything.
Of course, Thomas. We're always honest with you.
So then why haven't you told me about your sister Dorothy?
Both Annie and Clarabelle gasped.
What? How did? Where did you?
How did you know we had a sister named Dorothy?
Let's just say that someone told me about it. So why haven't you two told me? I thought you trusted me.
Annie and Clarabelle knew they couldn't hide it anymore. So they decided to tell Thomas the truth.
Well, it's just that we don't like to talk about it that much. We've wanted to tell you for so long.
Did something happen between you three?
In a way, yes. But we never had a falling out. We got along splendidly, all three of us. This was a very long ago, back when the railway was S&M. We were painted in plum purple with gold stripes and white. The railway had us built in honor of an engine who was given her own branch line. We all along well with the engine and became very close friends. She was so kind and generous, and she never ever bumped us or even played tricks on us. We had never been so happy. But then one day, we were waiting in the yard for our engine, but she never came that day. Word had spread that she had disappeared the night before, and no one could find her. So we were kept in the shed for a very long time, until one day, the controller of the S&M railway came to us and said that we were taking up space in the shed and we weren't useful anymore. That controller was not nice and didn't know how to treat a coach, or any of his engines. Naturally we felt insulted, but we didn't say anything to him. But Dorothy was fed up with the controller's attitude and took a stand. She started arguing with him and throwing insults, and then she called him a very harsh name that made the entire yard go silent.
What did she call him?
You don't want to know, Thomas.
The controller was so cross with Dorothy that he decided to make an example of what happens to those who talk back to him so he took her away.
Then he sold her for scrap.
Cinder and ashes. That's horrible.
We wanted to tell you for so long, Thomas. But we just couldn't bear the memory.
Then, Annie and Clarabelle started to cry. The memory of losing their sister hurt them deeply. Now Thomas wished he hadn't asked about Dorothy. He knew how hard it was to lose a sibling. He had all of his brothers from Brighton, now he's the lasty too. After a while, the coaches finally stopped crying and felt much better for letting it all out.
But Thomas, who told you about Dorothy anyway?
I'm not going to lie you two. I may as well tell you who told me. It was the engine who took care of you back in those days. It was Lady. But you can't tell anyone about her.
Lady? Our old engine. You found her?
Thank goodness. I thought we'd never hear from her again. Don't worry, Thomas. Your secret is safe with us.
You know I still can't believe all of this. You lose Dorothy, Lady runs away into hiding, and all this because she had one accident with some random engine which wasn't even her fault.
Thomas, that wasn't just any engine Lady crashed into. That was
Edward?
Now Thomas had another piece of the puzzle. He knew he had to have a word with Edward next time he saw him. Later that night, Percy was at Kelsthorpe station waiting to take the mail train. He was still feeling disappointed that he couldn't find out anything about Burnett Stone. Just then, Thomas arrived to drop off the last of the passengers for the evening local.
Oh, Thomas, I'm sorry I asked around, but no one knew anything about Burnett Stone.
It's okay, Percy. I know you did your best. But there's got to be someone who knows what happened to him.
Excuse me. I couldn't help but overhear what you said, and I think I can help you too.
Oh, hello. We didn't notice you. Who might you be?
My name is Lillian Stone. But you can call me Lily. As it just so happens, Burnett Stone was my grandfather. And I can tell you what happened.
Really? That's wonderful. Oh, and my name is Percy.
And I'm Thomas. So, what did happen to your grandfather?
So Lily began to tell them the story. However, no one knew that Splatter was inside the goods shed and was overhearing their conversation.
My grandfather told me he used to be an engineer on this island long ago. However, he had retired and was living in Bristol where he met my grandmother, Tasha. Eventually they got married and started a family. A year later, when his son, my father, had grown up and moved out, he moved to a quiet place in the countryside and started an orchard. I would often visit him when my parents were away, and we got along very well. He even told me stories of when he was an engineer for a special engine he drove once. It was right then and there that I decided to be an engineer when I grew up. So, my parents sent me to school and I learned everything I needed to know about being a good railway engineer. On the day of my graduation, however, my grandfather was nowhere to be seen. We got the news later that he had passed away the night before my graduation.
Oh. Well. I'm very sorry about that. I suppose that explains a lot. So, why are you here on Sodor now?
Before he died, my grandfather wrote in his will that I was to inherit his most prized possession, his engine, which he calls Lady. I was given a map to an old shed where the engine was kept. But when I arrived, the shed was empty. I guess someone had found her already.
Percy gave Thomas a disgusted look. Thomas realized that he made a mistake. He took Lady out of her hiding place and moved her somewhere else.
Well, it was nice talking to you two, but I'm just waiting to take the next train to the mainland.
No, wait. Lily, I know the engine you're looking for. And I know where she is.
You do?
Yes, Thomas found her.
It's kind of a long story. But I only wanted to help her. Do you still want to see her?
Lily was overjoyed when she heard this.
Oh. Yes. Yes, I do. Please, take me to her.
Okay, meet me back here tomorrow morning and I'll take you to her.
Thank you, Thomas. I will.
Thomas and Percy were delighted. Not only did they solve the mystery of Burnett Stone, but they found a new driver for Lady. Which meant Lady could be really useful once again.
So that's what he's up to. Ooh, wait until I tell the boss and then he'll say,
You idiots. I give you one simple job and that's all you have to tell me.
But boss,
we did what you told us to do.
You were supposed to find out what that blue puffball was up to. But instead you give these stories about some old man and his granddaughter and some old engine they?
Diesel 10 stopped yelling when he realized what he was saying.
That old engine wouldn't happen to be steam engine, would it?
Well, I suppose it is possible. It was a long time ago.
So that's why he had that Colland water. He's hiding that engine and trying to help her. This is perfect.
Yeah, it is.
we knew it would please you, boss. Didn't we?
Another steamy for scrap pile. This'll teach Thomas what happens when he crosses Diesel 10. And I get to send an old tin kettle to the scrap heap. It'll be like killing two birds with one stone or two steamy ears with one claw. So, where can I find this old engine?
Well. We don't know. Thomas must have hidden her really well. So we...
What? Well then you two go back out there and find her. Now.
Diesel 10's voice echoed throughout the yard. Dodge and Splatter raced back out of the diesel works in fright to find Lady.
You cow, those two aren't very dependable. They won't find a thing in this darkness.
Her. Who said that?
Oh, just another diesel. A devious diesel. And I can help you find this engine. All it takes a little espionage.
You strangely interest me. Keep talking.
Thomas finally returned home to Tidmouth Sheds. He knew that Henry was out taking the flying kipper, and Percy was taking the mail. But when he arrived, he saw Emily staying there as well. Then he noticed engine was missing.
Where's Edward? He's usually back by now.
He is staying at Wellsworth tonight so he can start work early tomorrow. He said that I could sleep here in his place tonight.
Why do you ask, Thomas? Is there something you wanted to say to him?
Well, yes. I wanted to ask him about something that may have involved him long ago.
You can just ask him tomorrow, Thomas. Just go to sleep.
Oh, all right.
Thomas tried to sleep that night, but he couldn't stop thinking about Lady, Lily, or Edward. He knew there was more to the story than Edward was letting on about. The next morning, Thomas woke up early. His driver and fireman got him steamed up and ready to go. Thomas then noticed that Percy was still asleep. He wanted to say something to him but he was still too drowsy.
Come on, Thomas. We haven't time to bother with Percy. We have to go meet up with Lily.
Thomas yawned as he puffed out of the sheds and onto the turntable. But he decided to go to Wellsworth first to talk to Edward. After all, there were still some things Thomas wanted to ask him. Sir Topham Hatt was on his way to his office at Knapford Station when he was stopped by the level crossing.
That's strange. The next train isn't scheduled for another hour. Why have the gates closed?
He soon found out why.
What's Thomas doing up so early, and where's he going?
Oh. That looked like Sir Topham Hatt's car. I just hope he'll understand.
At Wellsworth, Edward was just getting ready to start work along with Molly and Boko. Their crew worked hard to make sure that everything was okay. Just then, Thomas came into the yard. Edward was a little surprised to see him.
Hello, Thomas. What are you doing here so early?
Edward, I have to ask you something about that story you told the night before.
You mean the one about the lost engine? What about it?
Well, that part where Lady crashed into the back of a train and pushed an engine off the rails and into a shed. Were you that engine?
This caught Edward by surprise and made him gasp.
What? How did you figure out it was me? I never even said it was.
Annie and Clarabelle told me. I also know that they used to be ladies' coaches, and that they had a sister named Dorothy until the S&M railway controller scrapped her.